Shabbat shalom, everyone. Earlier this week, I was talking to a friend who described her experience watching the evening news a few days ago. I heard a lot of oyes already. She sat down on her couch, turned on the TV, and within 5 minutes, felt like she would not be able to get off her couch. Maybe not ever. And I don't think it was clear as to whether she should stay glued to the TV, turn off the TV immediately, but what was clear was it was very hard to imagine being anywhere except lying down on her couch for a long, long time. How do we get off our couch? How do we deal with this? This week's Torah portion, Chukat, opens with a mysterious story. A mysterious commandment. It's about a cow. It's about a red cow. Sadly for the cow will be slaughtered. The cow will be burned. And only then do we find out what this is all for. We are to take these ashes of a red cow and have them available for a time when someone has become impure. Impure by virtue of being under the same roof of someone else who has just died. We could imagine that might mean somebody very close to them to be in the same tent, to require this ritual of purification, the mixing of these ashes with water during 7 days of being outside the camp. There are details. You get sprinkled twice, once on the third day, once on the seventh day. Somehow in that situation, there's a sense that we are no longer pure and need to become pure again. But paradoxically, as our tradition points out, the people involved in the preparation of the ashes of the red cow become impure in the process. The same thing that presumably is associated with restoring purity for some is associated with bringing on impurity for others. What can a red cow and its ashes and the people involved in that whole process teach us about getting off the couch? I promise I didn't prepare that. There's a biblical scholar named Albert Baumgarten who delves into the ritual of the red cow. And he points something out to the readers of his scholarship that is not necessarily obvious. But the minute I learned it, I was so excited, and I wanted to share it with you tonight. Sometimes we assume that every time we have a word and what seems to be its opposite, that they are on a linear continuum. Impure way over here, pure way over here. Perhaps not unlike the way that during the Havdalah ritual, we talk about making a distinction. Hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol. God is the one who makes a distinction between the holy and the profane. So perhaps there's a similar distinction, our minds might think. I mean, there's a distinction between light and darkness. Is there a similar distinction? Maybe we assume there's a similar distinction between these words, pure and impure. But Baumgarten, in his article about the red cow, tells us to think differently. To think in a way that's less binary, to think in a way that's not just here or there on one linear scale, but rather asks us to consider purity as a sense of balance. When we feel a sense of equilibrium, equanimity, a lot of those words that start with EQU, that is part of the sense, part of the experience of feeling tahara, of feeling purity. And that purity can actually be upset in either direction. We can have an experience that feels, completely hedonistic or something like this. We can have an experience that feels like the most intense, holiest thing we've ever imagined. And guess what? Generally, we can't live in that space all of the time because we feel off balance. Sometimes we talk about Purim as one extreme on our calendar, and people point out that Yom Kippur's formal name, Yom HaKippurim, the day that is like Purim, we can read it, is the other extreme. That in one day we immerse into the extreme of the material and the other in the extreme of the spiritual, as if to remind us that the other 363 days, 352 days, depends which calendar you're using, I guess. The other days of the year, we should strive for balance. How does balance come? One of the ways I've been thinking about gaining more balance when we feel thrown off is opportunities to change our perspective. There's a story that I bet a lot of you have heard before, often published under the title, "It Could Always Be Worse." Sound familiar as a concept or a story? There's a person, they go to their rabbi, Rabbi, there are 6 of us in our tiny home, lowercase t, tiny home. It really is so tiny and it was not made to hold them all. What should we do? We're so uncomfortable. And this rabbi, she's very, very smart, and she says, I want you to take, how many goats do you have? I think you have goats, right? Yeah, we have 6 goats. Bring the goats into the house. Chickens too, right? Yeah. There are 8, maybe 9 chickens by now outside. Bring in the 8 or 9 chickens into the house. What about cows? You guys doing that? Yeah, we have 3 cows. They're really good to us. 3 cows into the house. What an amazing house it is now. It's getting tinier and tinier. And I see a lot of heads nodding. I sense you know the ending, which is that a week or 2 later, when the person returns, much more flustered than they were to begin with, the rabbi tells them to remove the 8 goats, or was it 9? You're right, 6. 8 or 9 chickens, the 3 cows from out of their home. And wow, there is so much spaciousness. There has never been this much room for this family before, so it seems. I guess it's one of the stories that ends with, wow, what a wise rabbi. But I think sometimes we have to find those moments, the moments to just change the daily circumstance that we're in, to be around someone we haven't seen in a while, to turn to a TV news station or read something that actually makes us uncomfortable, to pull us outside of our norm, to give us a different perspective, to spend time with someone who we love dearly but sometimes feel like we might not always like. And yes, when we feel like we've been surrounded by too much of that, to be with people who we know we can feel safe with. Shabbat gives us an opportunity to restore this balance. And I think one of the ways we get to do this, when we walk into this space, there are no 8 chickens now? I've really just lost the numbers on this. There are not 3 cows here. There are not 6 goats here, or 8 or 9 chickens here. In reality, we find spaces, and it's important as Shabbat comes around each week to make this be an opportunity to shift our perspective, to put on that fancy outfit and daven really hard if we feel like we've been having a week that seems so mundane, or to loosen our tie and show up in just the most casual, comfortable, I feel like this is an extension of my living room way possible if we've had to find ourselves in a tighter, more buttoned up place throughout the week. I want to encourage you as we weather these times that, as Rabbi Klein has taught us, may get worse before they get better. Was that will get worse? Thank you. That we have to also look for those opportunities to find that balance, to find those moments of holiness when we're exposed to the other, to find those times of ordinariness when we feel like we've delved into something so deeply. I know this community has been that for so many people. And as we launch into summer months, which are often a time of restoration, I want to encourage us tonight not just to find that physical rest, but to find that emotional and spiritual calm, a calm that comes from thoughtful use of our time, a calm that comes from community, a calm that may come from changing our perspective, and when all else fails, a calm that comes from observing Shabbat week after week and just trusting the tradition. Wish you all a Shabbat Shalom.